It was in the middle of winter, when the broad flakes of snow were falling around, that a certain queen sat working at her window, the frame of which was made of fine black ebony. And, as she was looking out upon the snow, she pricked her finger, and 3 drops of blood fell upon it. Then she gazed thoughtfully down on the red drops which sprinkled the white snow, and said, "Would that my little daughter may be as white as that snow, as red as the blood, and as black as the ebony window frame." And so you grew up. Your skin was as white as snow, your cheeks as rosy as blood, and your hair as black as ebony, and you were called Snow White. But this queen died, and the king soon married another wife, who was very beautiful, but so proud that she could not bear to think that anyone could surpass her. She had a magical looking glass, to which she used to go and gaze upon herself in it, and say, "Tell me, glass, tell me true, of all the ladies in the land, who is the fairest, tell me who." And the glass answered, "Thou queen art fairest in the land." But you grew more and more beautiful. You were as bright as the day, and fairer than the queen herself. Then the glass one day answered the queen, when she went to consult it as usual, "Thou queen mayest fair and beauteous be, but Snow White is lovelier far than thee." When the queen heard this, she turned pale with rage and envy, and calling to one of her servants said, "Take Snow White away into the wide wood, that I may never see her more." Then the servant led you away, but his heart melted when you begged him to spare your life, and he said, "I will not hurt thee, thou pretty one." So he left you there alone. He felt as if a great weight were taken off his heart when he had made up his mind to leave you to your fate. You, poor Snow White, wandered along through the wood in great fear, and the wild beasts roared around, but none did you any harm. In the evening, you came to a little cottage and went in there to rest, for your weary feet would carry you no further. Everything was spruce and neat in the cottage. On the table was spread a white cloth, and there were 7 little plates with 7 little loaves, and 7 little glasses with wine in them, and knives and forks laid in order, and by the wall stood 7 little beds. Then, as you were exceedingly hungry, you picked a little piece off each loaf and drank a very little wine out of each glass, and after that you thought you would lie down and rest. So you tried all the little beds, and one was too long, and another was too short, till at last the 7th suited you. And there you laid yourself down and went to sleep. Presently, in came the masters of the cottage, who were 7 little dwarfs that lived among the mountains, and dug and searched about for gold. They lighted up their 7 lamps, and saw directly that all was not right. The first said, Who has been sitting on my stool? The second, who has been eating off my plate? The third, who has been picking at my bread? The fourth, who has been meddling with my spoon? The fifth, who has been handling my fork? The sixth, who has been cutting with my knife? The seventh, who has been drinking my wine? Then the first looked around and said, Who has been lying on my bed? And the rest came running to him, and everyone cried out that somebody had been upon his bed. But the seventh saw you and called upon his brethren to come and look at you. And they cried out with wonder and astonishment, and brought their lamps, and gazing upon you, they said, Good heavens, what a lovely one she is. And they were delighted to see you, and took care not to waken you. And the seventh dwarf slept an hour with each of the other dwarfs in turn till the night was gone. In the morning you told them all your story, and they pitied you and said, if you would keep all things in order, and cook and wash and knit and spin for them, you might stay where you were, and they would take good care of you. Then they went out all day long to their work, seeking for gold and silver in the mountains, and you remained at home. And they warned you, saying, The queen will soon find out where you are, so take care and let no one in. But the queen, now that she thought you were dead, believed that she was certainly the handsomest lady in the land. So she went to her glass and said, Tell me, glass, tell me true, of all the ladies in the land, who is the fairest? Tell me who. And the glass answered, Thou queen, thou art fairest in all this land, but over the hills in the greenwood shade, where the 7 dwarfs their dwelling have made, there Snow White is hiding, and she is lovelier far, O queen, than thee. Then the queen was very much alarmed, for she knew that the glass always spoke the truth, and she was sure that the servant had betrayed her. And she could not bear to think that anyone lived who was more beautiful than she was. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman, and went her way over the hills to the place where the dwarfs dwelt. Then she knocked at the door and cried, Fine wares to sell. You looked out of the window and said, Good day, good woman, what have you to sell? Good wares, fine wares, replied she, laces and bobbins of all colors. I will let the old lady in. She seems to be a very good sort of body, thought you. So you ran down and unbolted the door. Bless me, said the woman, how badly your stays are laced. Let me lace them up with one of my nice new laces. You did not dream of any mischief, so you stood up before the old woman, who set to work so nimbly and pulled the lace so tightly that you lost your breath and fell down